Hello, thank you for being here, everybody. Please go ahead and grab some food or water or something, some refreshments. Sit down or while you're sitting, while I'm getting feedback. I'm going to move this over here. Sound good? Well, who's that far? Okay, is that better? Yes. Okay. Yeah, so thank you all for being here on this beautiful night. I'm Kathy Hanratty. I'm with Protect Geauga Parks, and we are a group of peaceful, law-abiding, concerned citizens. We are a grassroots organization organized in 2014 for conservation, common sense, and transparency in the governance of our parks. We're people who love nature. We want parkland to be protected, and we applaud efforts to bring people of all ages into the natural world, especially when those efforts help to educate people of all ages about the value of nature. We thank the foresight of people for over 50 years who listened to experts in natural resource management and wisely conserved some of the best and most pristine lands in Geauga County. They understood that it takes centuries or even millennia to create these beautiful areas, and unfortunately only a short time to destroy them or damage them. What many people don't realize is that our conserved places provide benefits for every resident in Geauga County and the entire region, whether or not those people ever set foot in a park. Although our parks actually contain less than 4% of the land mass of Geauga County, the land protected within our parks provides amazing services to all of us. The forest, fields, and wetlands help to clean our air and water and even protect our property values. Tonight's conservation conversation is all about helping people to understand the importance and the value of conservation and the perils of failing to protect and value the natural world. To help us understand more about the need for conservation is Judy Semroc, a conservation specialist with the Cleveland Museum of Natural History. Judy is an educator, a noted field naturalist, a birder, a fantastic nature photographer, and so many things. I could go on and on all night. But please welcome Judy with her talk tonight. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for inviting me. Please let me know if you can't hear me. Without the microphone, I'll shout. Because I get I gotta get my steps in, so I move around a lot of arm waving. Could we lower the lights just a little bit? So part of the reason for doing a talk like this, especially for a group like this, I know that I'm probably preaching to the choir for a lot of the things that this is going to cover, but it's even more important under the current things that have been going on politically and just how environmental things have been changing so quickly. So by putting something like this together, I think it helps everybody to realize that habitat fragmentation, deforestation, clear cutting extends way beyond our little world. It is a much bigger picture, but this first shot, the beginning is probably going to be, you're going to say, is she going to get to anything happy? And yes, I will get to happy things, because you look at things like this, and if you're interested in conservation or you're interested in nature, and you take a look at land like this that has been logged out for whatever reason, it can be saddening. This particular shot I will talk about in a little bit because it appears someplace else, but okay. So let's talk about some terminology to start off so that everybody knows kind of what we're talking about. Habitat fragmentation is basically when you have the habitat loss results in a division of a large contiguous habitat into smaller and more isolated pieces or remnants. And then these new areas are often devoid of trees or some of the other elements that made the previous habitat what it was. There's references to all this. There's also references at the end. But we get things like this where clearly this forest probably covered the entire area. And a lot of times habitat fragmentation means more to the animals and the insects and the birds than sometimes it does to the people. A lot of people want to have a nice mowed area around their home, even though they may have cut down trees to put their house there. However, what makes it difficult for the animals is if you are a woodland animal or a woodland insect or a woodland bird, it's tough for you to cross big open areas. In particular, there would be something like the West Virginia white, which is a butterfly that is globally imperiled. We do have it here in Geauga County, but it has a very specific area that it visits because of the plants that are there. And it is a woodland butterfly. So if it's here working on laying its eggs on toothwort and it needs to go over here or go over here, it doesn't like to cross big open areas. So it may not do that, and it may perish. That population may perish. So think movement between these forested areas. That's why a lot of times a park district or a conservation group may work on connecting pieces of property together to continue a corridor. And typically corridors are made around rivers or streams so that you're protecting the water quality. And that's always kind of at the top of the list. Okay, deforestation is the permanent destruction of forests in order to utilize the land or utilize the trees, such as in logging and that. Typically, it's clearing a lot of trees without the intention of establishing future growth. So they don't usually cut them all down and then replant them all replant young ones in the same spot. Although some groups think that that's a better way of doing things because once they log off and sell that timber, then they'll go back in and they'll plant smaller trees, obviously not necessarily the trees that were there, and the ecosystem can change dramatically. Then the land is often converted into farms, roads, housing, other city uses, building, business parks, things like that. And then clear cutting is the most common method of timber harvest, and basically every single marketable tree is cut down from a selected area. Because if you are a forestry company or you're a logger, or you're even a builder, it is much easier to move logs and equipment over bare ground than it is to try to move them around standing trees that remain. So that is one of the reasons why they will come in and do a clear cut. It helps them to get the most out of that forest land for the lowest cost. And you'll find in a lot of the things that we talk about that, money tends to be the issue. Now this Futurism was a very interesting website because it's talking about deforestation and things like that across the whole world, which gives us a little better idea of what we're talking about. So 28,000 species may go extinct in the next quarter century due to excessive deforestation in the rainforests. Okay, they contain the highest biodiversity in the world, and without that diversity, life would be unable to thrive, and that's really a true statement. You get unique adaptations, you get evolutions, you allow for organisms to rely on each other. Remember, everything is kind of like a web. So the big guys at the top of the food chain are eating the little guys at the bottom of the food chain, and when that food chain changes because of habitat, then that changes everything else that goes on. And that's something that we need to sort of pay attention to as we work on land, what we do with the land, how we take care of the land, or for that matter, how we don't take care of the land. So soil erosion, floods, wildlife extinction, all of those things increase in global warming. And if you're not familiar with global warming, some people believe in it and some people don't, which is fine. There's a lot of evidence, both fossil record evidence that things have changed over a long period of time, and we now know that our temperatures, our floods, our fires, all these extreme weather episodes have really changed a lot during the time we've been working on this planet. 20% of the world's oxygen is produced in the Amazon rainforest. That's a pretty significant number. And then more than 121 natural remedies found in the rainforest or made from things in the rainforest are used as medicine. 25% of our cancer-fighting organisms are found in the Amazon. Unfortunately, 4,500 acres of forest are cleared hourly by fires, bulldozers, machetes, and again, we're talking globally here. And it is estimated estimated at the rate we are going, and if it continues, that in 100 years, we won't have any rainforests. For the reasons, whether it's, you know, for coffee plantations or for logging to do other things, that can be critical. Agriculture is the leading cause of deforestation, and especially when you get into the rainforest because they're looking for more and more land to raise their cattle. That's a big thing. If you go into South America, there is cattle everywhere, and because they have a very high beef diet.